New councilors take their places at the dais for their first official council meeting. Details from last Thursday's gathering on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Monday, November 25th, 2013. I'm Sarah Colvin. Girls volleyball coach Tom Turco and the team were honored at last Thursday's council meeting for yet another championship. The varsity team captured the MIAA Division I state championship again this year. The players and coach were recognized by the council at the start of the evening. Next up, Town Council Administrator Barbara Ford took to the podium with an overview of strategic planning. Now that elections are over and 6 new councilors are at work, it's time to take a look at the goals and objectives for this council.
This is the hierarchy of priorities from FY14. It was FY13 into FY14. And there were some changes in how the priorities were set. They used to be one on top of the other, and now they're lateral in some cases. So there's a little bit of a change there. And also in their priorities were structured differently this time as well. Strategic planning is basically a comprehensive view of the big picture, and it leads to specific targeting actions so that you will you need to look at different changes in the environment. Things could change, the mandates may change, so you have to periodically look at what's before you in the future. And usually strategic plans aren't more than, the maximum is 5 years, but I can't imagine trying to do a 5-year strategic plan here. It's always been 1 or 2 years, I believe, here. The reason why you do it, it provides better decision-making by focusing on today's decisions that will be, in the future, the consequences. You can make your decisions now, and you need to maybe look back and say, why did they make that decision? Well, this is where we were then, and we're hoping that we would get here, but you may not. So that's when you have to go back and reassess. But you need to have a plan. You need to be able to plan for what you want to accomplish in the future. It also would provide improved communications involving stakeholders so they won't have any surprises as to what you may be planning for the town or future, your priorities. It makes for better public relations if you keep everybody involved and in the know. You need to update and reassess to account for any changes in the mandates, providing public input. Thank you for doing that for me. And you also set your mission, values, and your vision for the future of the town. The values are basically how you want to conduct your business. How do you want to treat the key stakeholders? You want to engage them in decisions that you make. What are some of your goals? Is customer service your goal, or is the financial stability of the town your goal, or do you want to have more recreation, or do you want to have more housing? And what do you really care about? So you make those kinds of plans and decisions. And then what do you want the organization to look like, your vision, and how it's going to look when you actually successfully complete or implement the strategies. And after it's achieved its full potential, what do you expect it to look like? What do you expect the town to be? And then you need to take stock. I think I have a little picture of a stock pot up there. You need to examine the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats / challenges. That's called a SWOT. And there's internal challenges, weaknesses, strengths, and opportunities, and external. Some of the strengths that we have are we have AAA bond rating. We haven't had any overrides to get the things that the town needs. We've been funding health insurance liabilities. A lot of towns haven't even begun doing that. Our CIP plan has been funded. We have stakeholder support. Maybe some weaknesses are their Chapter 70 funds, mandates, structure, and the systems that we have. some opportunities or grants or partnerships, potential partnerships and grants, plus the knowledge of the trained staff. Some threats and challenges could be lack of stakeholder support and also any mandates. And we'd have to look at the internal and the external as far as those go. And goals and objectives. So the goals are a broad, long-term aim that define the accomplishments and the mission. So if you wanted to increase recreation, so maybe the objective would be a community pool. I'm not saying that that's what you would do. So objectives are specific, quantifiable, realistic targets that measure the accomplishment of a goal over a specified period of time. And the heart of the process really is identifying, assessing, and framing the issues. Issues that need immediate action, issues that are likely requiring a near future action, but maybe operational or tactical and not necessarily strategic action. And there's issues that need no immediate action, but you have to continuously monitor. So these are things that you need to be keeping in mind.
Then it was on to the orders of the day. Director of Public Works Dan Santos went over the request for the snow and ice overdraft order for fiscal 2014, an annual process.
Due to the very variable and unpredictable nature of the weather in Massachusetts, the Massachusetts general laws allow communities to make expenditures that are in excess of available appropriations. And the reason for this is that we don't want to curtail or impact services if we have a lot more snow than is budgeted for. We need to be able to address that as it comes at us. So that's the purpose for this request. We annually, since 2009, appropriate $600,000 for the purpose of snow and ice removal. Last year, we expended a little over $1.6 million for snow and ice removal. In the last 11 years, 5 of those years, we were in the neighborhood of the $600,000, but in 4 of the last 5 years, we exceeded $1.2 million. So you can see there's great variability in the amount required for snow and ice removal. Any expenditures that we make under this authority that's granted are certified to the Board of Assessors in the next year and included in the next annual tax rate.
Several councilors had questions about the process and finances. Director of Finance Mark Milne responds to these questions.
The amount that we budget for snow and ice will not determine ultimately what we actually spend for snow and ice. The things that are going to determine that is the weather and what our policy is as far as removing snow and ice from the roadways. So it really doesn't matter whether we spend or budget 0 or $5 million for snow and ice removal, because whatever we do spend, we're going to end up raising it on the levy of the following year, which is why the legislature lets us do this practice of deficit spending. And in essence, what you're doing is what you spend this year, you're going to budget the following year. So whatever we spend in 14, we'll budget in 15. If we wanted to adopt a strategy that says, well, let's put the budget at $2 million, all I would do that would probably cover any fiscal year that I see here as far as the amount of expenditures. If we were to adopt a policy that set a budget at that level, I would just ask us all to consider funding that from our reserves as opposed to cutting correspondingly another budget someplace, so that you don't decimate a service to fund a
snow and ice overdraft order was approved. Councilors also accepted a $2,000 grant that'll pay for recycling bins in town. Well, Thanksgiving is coming up this Thursday, and traditions here on Cape Cod don't just include turkey and all the trimmings. For more than a century, the Barnstable Red Raiders and the Falmouth Clippers football teams have been hitting the gridiron on Turkey Day. This year, the game takes place at Gov. Fuller Field in Falmouth. Red Raiders will be rallying support this Wednesday at 1 o'clock at the Village Green. Students on floats will parade down Main Street toward the green, where a rally in support of the Red Raiders will take place. Barnstable won the game on home turf last year, beating the Clippers 39-14. With Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Colvin.